February 28, 1985, 8:47 p.m. Studio 8, HNBC Studios, New York City. The American Music Awards were being broadcast live to 42 million viewers when 34-year-old Stevie Wonder, already a legend with 25 Grammy wins, made an announcement that stunned the audience. "I've been hearing a lot about this young man, Prince, and his musical abilities. Tonight, I want to see what all the fuss is about." From his seat in the front row, 26-year-old Prince Rogers Nelson looked up with that enigmatic smile as Stevie continued. "Prince, they say you can play anything. I've got a piano right here. How about we settle this the old-fashioned way?" The crowd erupted, but no one, not the producers, not the audience, not even Prince himself, was prepared for what would happen when two of music's greatest piano virtuosos faced each other on live television. In exactly 3 minutes and 17 seconds, a challenge between legends would become a moment of pure artistic transcendence that redefined what America understood about musical mastery. If you believe that true greatness recognizes true greatness, and that the most beautiful competitions are the ones where everyone wins through the sheer power of artistic excellence, please subscribe to witness the moment when a legendary master acknowledged that the student had become something even greater than the teacher had imagined. The 1985 American Music Awards represented the pinnacle of mainstream music recognition, broadcast live from New York with performances by the industry's biggest stars. Stevie Wonder was there as both a presenter and a performer, celebrating another year of continued relevance after nearly 2 decades of unprecedented success. At 34, Stevie had already achieved everything a musician could dream of: multiple Grammy wins, critical acclaim, commercial success, and universal recognition as one of the most innovative artists of his generation. Prince, at 26, was experiencing his own moment of cultural dominance. Purple Rain had spent 24 consecutive weeks at #1. The accompanying film had grossed over $80 million worldwide, and Prince was being hailed as the most innovative artist of the 1980s. But despite his commercial success, Prince was still seeking recognition from the musical establishment, especially from legends like Stevie Wonder, whose artistry had influenced Prince's own development. The relationship between Stevie and Prince had been cordial but distant up to this point. They had met briefly at industry events and had expressed mutual respect in interviews, but they had never performed together or had substantial musical conversations. Stevie represented the previous generation of musical innovation, while Prince embodied the new wave of artists who were pushing boundaries in different directions. The catalyst for their on-stage encounter came during a commercial break when Stevie was preparing to present an award and noticed Prince in the audience. Stevie had been following Prince's career with interest and genuine curiosity about the younger artist's abilities, particularly his reputation as a multi-instrumentalist who could match Stevie's own versatility. "I've been wanting to meet this young man properly," Stevie told the show's producer during the break. "What do you think about a little impromptu musical conversation?" The producer's initial reaction was panic. Live television schedules don't accommodate spontaneous performances, and insurance concerns made unplanned celebrity interactions problematic. But the show was running ahead of schedule, and the opportunity to capture an unrehearsed moment between two legends was too valuable to pass up. When the broadcast returned from commercial, Stevie was at the microphone, ostensibly to present the next award. Instead, he addressed the audience directly. "Before we continue with tonight's festivities," Stevie announced, his characteristic smile suggesting something unexpected was about to happen, "I want to acknowledge someone in our audience who's been making quite an impression on the music world." The camera found Prince in the front row, looking characteristically calm but alert to whatever was developing. "Prince Rogers Nelson," Stevie continued, "I've been hearing a lot about your musical abilities. They say you can play everything, write everything, produce everything. Tonight, I want to see what all the fuss is about." The audience murmured with excitement, understanding that something unprecedented was unfolding. Stevie walked to the Steinway grand piano that had been positioned center stage for earlier performances. "Prince, they say you can play anything. I've got a piano right here. How about we settle this the old-fashioned way? The crowd erupted in applause and anticipation. Prince looked around, clearly considering whether to accept what amounted to a public challenge from one of music's most respected figures. "Come on up here, young man," Stevie called out, his tone playful, but carrying the authority of someone who had earned the right to issue such invitations. "Let's have ourselves a little musical conversation." Prince stood up slowly, his movements deliberate and confident. As he walked toward the stage, the audience's anticipation was palpable. 42 million television viewers were about to witness an unplanned musical encounter between two of the most innovative artists of their respective generations. "What did you have in mind, Stevie?" Prince asked as he reached the piano, his voice carrying clearly through his wireless microphone. "How about we start simple?" Stevie replied, settling onto the piano bench. "I'll play something, you respond. Then you play something, and I'll respond. Let's see where the music takes us." Prince nodded, understanding the format immediately. This wasn't going to be a battle in the traditional sense. It was going to be a musical dialogue, a way for two artists to communicate through their shared language of music. "You want to go first?" Stevie offered. "Age before beauty," Prince replied with a slight smile, earning laughter from the audience. Stevie began playing a complex jazz progression in B-flat major, his fingers moving with the effortless precision that had made him famous. The melody was sophisticated, incorporating elements of classical structure with jazz harmonies and a subtle funk rhythm that showcased his remarkable technical abilities. As Stevie played, Prince listened intently, not just to the notes but to the musical ideas Stevie was expressing. This was more than a display of technical skill. It was Stevie sharing his musical personality, his approach to harmony and rhythm, his way of thinking about the piano as both a percussive and melodic instrument. When Stevie finished his opening statement, the audience applauded respectfully. Now it was Prince's turn to respond. Before we reveal how Prince answered Stevie's musical challenge and what happened when their styles merged in ways that neither artist expected, let me ask you, have you ever witnessed a moment where two masters of their craft pushed each other to new levels of excellence? Share your thoughts in the comments, because what happened next demonstrated why true artistry is about collaboration, not competition. Prince approached the piano and positioned himself beside Stevie, who graciously made room while remaining at the keyboard. Instead of taking over completely, Prince began playing a complementary line to what Stevie had established, building on the jazz progression but adding his own harmonic sophistication and rhythmic complexity. What emerged was extraordinary. Prince had somehow taken Stevie's musical statement and expanded it into something that honored the original while pushing it into new territory. He incorporated elements of classical technique, funk rhythm, and pop sensibility, while never losing the essential jazz foundation that Stevie had established. But the most remarkable aspect of Prince's response wasn't just his technical ability, it was his musical diplomacy. He was demonstrating his capabilities without showing off, proving his mastery while clearly expressing respect for what Stevie had created. Stevie listened with the focused attention of someone who rarely encountered musical surprises. As Prince played, Stevie's expression shifted from curious evaluation to genuine amazement. He was hearing musical ideas that he hadn't expected, technical approaches that impressed him, and most importantly, artistic maturity that suggested Prince operated on the same level of musical thinking that Stevie had spent decades developing. When Prince concluded his response, Stevie immediately began playing again, but this time he incorporated elements of what Prince had just played, creating a musical conversation where each artist was learning from and building upon what the other had contributed. For the next 2 minutes, Stevie and Prince engaged in a musical dialogue that transcended anything either had done in their individual careers. They were creating music in real time that existed only in that moment, music that combined their different generational perspectives, different stylistic approaches, and different ways of understanding what the piano could accomplish. The audience watched in complete silence, understanding that they were witnessing something unprecedented. This wasn't a battle or a competition. It was two musical geniuses discovering what they could create together. As the improvisation reached its natural conclusion, both artists played a final chord progression together, their four hands creating harmony that seemed to summarize everything they had shared during their musical conversation. The silence that followed lasted for nearly 5 seconds before the audience erupted in the loudest ovation of the evening. But more importantly, both artists were looking at each other with expressions of mutual respect and genuine artistic connection. Stevie stood up from the piano bench and extended his hand to Prince. As they shook hands, Stevie leaned close to Prince's microphone and said something that 42 million viewers would never forget. "Ladies and gentlemen, I came up here thinking I was going to teach this young man something about piano playing. Instead, I just learned what the next level of music sounds like. Prince, you're not just talented. You're operating on a plane that I'm still trying to reach. Thank you for showing me what's possible." The words carried extra weight coming from Stevie Wonder, whose own musical innovations had influenced a generation of artists. For him to acknowledge Prince as having achieved something beyond his own considerable abilities was unprecedented. But Prince's response was equally gracious and revealing. "Stevie, everything I know about making music that matters, I learned by listening to what you created. Tonight wasn't about proving anything. It was about honoring what you taught me and trying to take it somewhere you hadn't been yet, but I couldn't have gotten there without the foundation you built." The exchange between the two artists was as musically sophisticated as their piano playing had been. They were acknowledging their relationship as teacher and student, while also recognizing that artistic growth sometimes means the student discovers territories that even the teacher hadn't explored. The impact of their impromptu collaboration extended far beyond that evening's broadcast. Video of the performance became one of the most replayed clips in American Music Awards history, and audio recordings of their piano duet became bootleg legends among jazz and funk enthusiasts. More significantly, the mutual respect that Stevie and Prince displayed toward each other changed how the music industry thought about artistic relationships between generations. Instead of competition or replacement, they had demonstrated collaboration and mutual learning. In the weeks following the American Music Awards, both artists spoke frequently about their on-stage encounter. Stevie told Rolling Stone, "Prince reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place. He's not trying to copy what came before, he's trying to discover what comes next. That's exactly what every great artist should be doing." Prince's response in interviews was characteristically thoughtful. "Stevie Wonder is one of the reasons I believed music could be more than entertainment. That night, I wasn't trying to challenge him or prove I was better. I was trying to show him that his influence had helped create something new. The greatest honor any artist can receive is knowing that your work inspired someone else to reach higher." Their collaboration that evening led to several private musical sessions over the following months, though these were kept confidential and never recorded commercially. Musicians who were present at these sessions described them as master classes in musical communication, with both artists constantly challenging each other to explore new possibilities. The relationship between Stevie and Prince became a model for how established artists and emerging talents could interact productively. Rather than viewing each other as threats or competitors, they had demonstrated that mutual respect and shared exploration could elevate everyone involved. When Prince died in 2016, Stevie Wonder performed at the memorial service in Minneapolis. His tribute included a solo piano performance that incorporated musical themes from their 1985 television encounter, followed by these words, "Prince taught me that true mastery isn't about proving you're the best, it's about constantly discovering what best could become." That night in 1985, I thought I was challenging him to show me what he could do. Instead, he challenged me to imagine what we could do together. That's the difference between talent and genius. Talent competes, genius collaborates. The Steinway piano that Stevie and Prince played that night was later acquired by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where it's displayed with a plaque reading, "The instrument that proved great artists don't compete. They elevate each other." Today, music schools around the country use video of their performance to teach students about improvisation, collaboration, and the difference between technical skill and artistic communication. The encounter has become a case study in how artistic excellence can be both competitive and collaborative simultaneously. Music historians consider their television duet a defining moment in 1980s entertainment, not just because of the musical quality, but because of what it demonstrated about artistic relationships. In an era often defined by celebrity conflicts and manufactured rivalries, Stevie and Prince had shown that the greatest artistic moments come when masters choose to learn from each other rather than trying to diminish each other. Prince Rogers Nelson and Stevie Wonder proved that evening that true legends recognize true legends, and that the most beautiful competitions are the ones where everyone wins through the sheer power of shared artistic excellence. They showed that mastery isn't a destination. It's a conversation between artists who understand that music is always bigger than any individual performer. When a master challenges a student and discovers that the student has become a teacher, when a legend acknowledges that someone else has reached heights he's still climbing toward, that's not defeat. That's the music world working exactly as it should. If this story reminds you that the greatest artists are those who elevate each other rather than diminishing each other, and that true mastery is measured by your willingness to keep learning even when everyone thinks you already know everything, please subscribe to keep these stories alive. Because the world needs more examples of how legends can recognize other legends and make everyone more legendary in the process.